Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar. My name is Elisa Sklar and I am going to be talking to you today about using your ZoomProspector enterprise software for marketing your location. So let's start with the idea of using your ZoomProspector tool to market your location. There's a variety of ways in which we can do that. The first is that we're going to look at is how to make sure, of course, that people can find your ZPE location analysis tool. We'd be surprised how often important information tends to get hidden on people's websites, so we'll take a look at that. We'll talk about using your ZPE location analysis tool for social media. We'll talk about ways in which you can promote ZPE and the services offered through it as part of your overall suite of services at your economic development organization. We'll talk about how you can mine your ZPE location tool for information as well, and that's something that we'll get back to at the end. So let's go through that. First of all, let's start with making sure people can find you. Now, overall site placement clearly is key. The question I always ask is, would you hide this state-of-the-art powerful vehicle in the garage? Of course not. You're proud of it. You want to be able to show it. You've invested in it for its speed and its power. So the question is, why would we want to hide this one? Your ZoomProspector enterprise application is a really critical way that you can market your location, that you can make sure that you are open for business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that site selectors and investors and interested businesses should be able to look for available properties and search for all sorts of information about your workforce, your community, your demographics, consumer spending, business data. We want to make sure this is really front and center. But on some websites, finding the ZoomProspector site selection tool can be a little bit like a scavenger hunt. So the question you want to ask yourself is, how many clicks do you have to go through to get there from the home page? Now, sometimes people will find your site selection tool on its own because you've used search engine optimization, because you've linked to it in different places, but often people start off from your organizational homepage, and you want to make sure that it's really front and center and not buried 5 clicks down. One example that I found is in one particular EDO. They had a tab that said programs on their homepage. Then you had to click through to economic and community development. Then you had to click down through another ED site, then find available sites, and then click through one final time. And you always need to ask yourself, if someone has to go through this kind of path to find it in the first place, the chances are they won't even bother. Would you? In many cases, website analytics show us that people are not willing to do that kind of scavenger hunt in order to find the thing that they're looking for. We really want to make sure this is easy for them to find. Another thing that we sometimes notice is that the link may be on the home page, but it isn't always written in language that's obvious, or it may be in text alone without any accompanying images. We know that images are really important to encourage people to click through. This is all sort of user experience metrics that we're able to gather. So if it says available sites and buildings, that's helpful, but ideally we would have some kind of image to show it off. So this is an example of some of the metrics or analytics that can be done on a website. It's website heat scanning, and that basically the hot spots are where viewers' eyes tend to go. So of course we would start in the upper left-hand corner. We're readers of English. We're used to starting from the left and moving our way over to the right. People will scan the tabs on the top, and they might look for some things, but you can see that most of the interest here is certainly what we call above the fold or at the top of the screen. But they're also interested in looking down here at that menu of other links that they can click onto. And there's some additional information over here. So anything that is image-based, that appears as a list with bullet points, all of those things can be really quite powerful. Afterwards, if you choose to review this, you can take a look over at the link over here. You get all sorts of information on web design usability. Some of the important takeaways for us here is images, putting it at the top. Here's an example of a site that does it really well. This is the Indiana Economic Development Organization, and you can see that they've put a very big graphic right here. It's written in white. There's good contrast with the background. The site locator is very, very clear, and it makes it easy. We've even spelled it out. Click here to launch the ZoomProspector. So that makes it very clear to users. It's above the fold, and eyes will go really right there quite quickly. So that's really a great example of how to do this well. Another example over here, Choose New Jersey, is using very little text at all on the homepage. But of course, we've got this really nice map, which is important because your potential investor in Asia or Europe or anywhere else in the world may not know exactly where New Jersey is located. You show them on the map. We've got a really nice graphic over here, and then you can just click on to find properties. And so that really works very nicely to drive your website visitor where you want them to go if you're looking at investment attraction. So really quite useful. One more example here is from the Calgary Regional Partnership in Alberta, Canada. This is also using very little text on the initial homepage, and you can see that you're interested in investing, moving, planning, partnership, or explore more information about the community. If you click on that, it'll take you right over to the ZoomProspector search application. So very, very useful way to do that. Again, this is the URL if you want to make a note of this to refer back later on. Usereffect.com topic / 25-point website usability checklist is something that you want to keep in mind when you go back and look at your own website. One of the things that I've done for some clients is a kind of, when they launch a new site, is they've asked me to take part in a scavenger hunt where I am given 3 tasks that many users to their website will have to do, and they want to watch and see how long it takes me to figure out on this website I've never visited before to accomplish those tasks. And often the results are quite illuminating. So it's useful to do those kind of blind user tests. It may be obvious to you, but not necessarily to a first-time visitor. So let's take a look at some of the best practices here when it comes to your ZoomProspector application. First of all, you want to question, is it integrated into your homepage? So very clear. One of the things that we do now offer are these widgets, the search widgets, which are really beautiful. They take very little space. They can be blended into your home site design by using the color one of the colors that you're already using. And people can begin the search right from that top widget, and then it'll take them right into the results page. So widgets, of course, are also available free to any partners in your community. And that's something that you want to really consider. You can build them into many different pages on your site, send them to the Realtor Association to put on their site as well. Ask yourself, would a first-time visitor quickly find a clear path to the ZoomProspector link on your website? Will they be able to see the widget? Is it more than one click from the homepage? If it's more than one click, then it's too far away. Each additional click greatly decreases the number of visitors who will manage to figure out how to get there. So I wouldn't put it any further than one click. Ideally, it should be right on your homepage. Is the language for the link clear and descriptive? If you're going to be using words instead of just images, think about what that language is. What are people looking for? A site selector, a property database, a site analysis, a GIS tool. Not everyone is looking for GIS. They might be looking for property analysis or site analysis. Is there an image? Ideally, that's where people's eyes are going to go on your website. So making sure there's an attractive and clear image is very helpful. Is it above the fold? In other words, do people have to scroll down to see it? If they do, the chances are decreased that they will ever find it and click through to it. So we want to put it above the fold. And are there links to your ZoomProspector from multiple pages on your economic development organization website? It isn't just enough to put it on the homepage because people wander through and you might find it in different places. So we want to make sure that those links, they can be in the forms of widgets or they can be in the form of more conventional links, should be there in different places. And very importantly, does your EDO logo link back to your homepage? As people move around your site, if they want to get home, they can look for a home button, but it's useful if the logo itself always takes them back home. This is important also on your ZoomProspector page. Your logo will usually be in the top left or the top of the page, and ideally that'll be a hyperlink back to your organizational website. So we really want to make sure that everything is very clearly pointing back to the places that they want to go. And finally, this may seem obvious to people, but we want to make sure that there's a clear contact us form on every single page. You'd be surprised how often on economic development websites I have to spend a fair bit of time hunting around to figure out how to contact a human being at this organization. It's ideal if we can see names, titles, if there are hyperlinks to email addresses, phone numbers that we should be able to reach. All of those things really are ideal. Let's move on to the next thing then. Now let's talk about how to use your ZPE site for social media content. The fact is that ZoomProspector provides you a wealth of information and content that you can easily use for social media updates. And one of the number one questions I get when it comes to social media for economic development is, how do I come up with all that content? Well, the truth is it's pretty easy to do if you've got a ZoomProspector application. The nice thing about that is you're going to be in drawing the content about your community, either it's the data or it's the properties, the sites, the brokers. You'll be building strong relationships with the agents, the broker, and commercial real estate professionals in your location. So this is really kind of a nice crossover. So let's take a look at what that actually looks like. First of all, ideally, let's post a featured site or property of the day or of the week on your Twitter, Facebook, Flickr, or LinkedIn profile pages. Many organizations at this point have a LinkedIn organizational page. That's different from having your own personal LinkedIn account. And you can pick a featured site or property of the day on your ZoomProspector and post it every day or even just once or twice a week. And that link will bring people back to the property report. So your brokers will be super happy because you are driving more traffic back to them. It also brings people back to the ZoomProspector page so they can not only see the property itself, but they can do all of the analysis that ZoomProspector enables. They can look at the demographics and the workforce, consumer spending, they can look at drive time, they can compare communities. And so it's really important that once we bring people back there, they're then able to see it. So if you are using any of these social media tools, ZoomProspector really offers a phenomenal source of content. So here's an example of a property report. And you can see that if you go under the share, there will be a link that actually is, you can just copy it, and that's what you can put into your social media updates and posts. And this is what it will drive people back to. And then they can click on any one of those tabs over there to get more information about the property or about other properties. Now, your local businesses may say, well, it's not all about investment attraction. It's also about supporting the businesses that you already have. So we would encourage you to also consider posting a featured business of the day. Not only does that provide obvious, attention to your business community, but it makes them happy. You're building rapport, and you're showcasing them as valuable contributors to the economy in your location. So they're really going to like that. So here's an example. This is a screenshot from Buffalo, Niagara. You can see that by clicking on having search for businesses, and I clicked on it, it gives us all sorts of information about about this particular business. We can use a screenshot of the map area. We can go over to the website from that. There's all sorts of information that we can do, but this really is a nice way to provide that. And you can show this in Street View as well as in satellite. So there's a variety of ways that can happen. Another example here from the city of Maricopa is that you can open, another example of a business that's opened up here. It shows us where we can find them on the map, and it lets us profile also their website, so they're likely to get more traffic. So here's an example from our own page a little while back, where you can see that we feature some properties of our own. So usually once a week or so, we'll feature a specific property, we'll draw some information out about the website, and we'll put the link back to your ZoomProspector site. So it's a nice way for us to be able to feature our clients as well, and that creates nice goodwill. Now, if you're on LinkedIn, there's a couple things that you can do. You can use your EDO company profile page and consider starting a group for business and corporate real estate professionals in your location. So these are two specific ways in which you can be putting LinkedIn to work for you. And all of this, of course, can be amplified if you use your own personal LinkedIn profile to repost, reshare, like, and comment, and encourage those who work with you at your economic development organization to do the same. Let's take a look at an example here. So we see this is the page for the Partnership for Downtown St. Louis. And you can see that they are putting a downtown property of the week. We've got a nice image here. You can link back to it. It brings us back to the ZoomProspector, and it lets us learn a little bit more about each of the properties that it chooses to feature. Over here on the organizational profile page, people can follow it. If they're following it, that means that they will get these updates appear in their LinkedIn newsfeed. You can also, I haven't opened this up here. If you click on See More, you'll get a little bit of information about the partnership for downtown St. Louis, and that will give us some information for them. It also works to build search engine optimization for them because all of those keywords are indexed back to their organization. Here's an example of the other thing I was talking about, which is putting together a group specifically for the businesses and corporate real estate members of your location. You can set up the group. It's free to set them up. You don't have to have a premium account. Ideally, it should be someone who has administrator privileges at your organization. Someone has to be paying attention to what gets posted. In this case, the group is moderated. So I would have to click on join group, and the moderator, in this case, Cecilia, would have to approve me. And then I would be able to engage with the people who are in this group. And it's a great way for businesses to share information about promotions, to work on supply chain logistics, to connect with each other, to crowdsource problems or issues. And it's also a really nice thing for investors to be able to see about your area because it shows this very vibrant, active, and engaged business community. And that can be very, very attractive. It's that kind of additional color that we want to use to fill in your organization. And a lot of the content that you can get for a group like this can also come out of your ZoomProspector tool as well. So both of these places would be appropriate for posting sites and properties of the day, but also businesses of the day to kind of create interest and engagement. Another example here of a way that we have promoted a client of ours is, here Sioux Falls, another way that we've actually done that. And you can see all sorts of interesting information about the ways in which people are visiting that page. I'll show you that in a moment. Now, LinkedIn in April has just debuted another thing that they offer to businesses, which is what they call their showcase pages, rather. And in this case, we could see that the Michigan Economic Development Corporation has set up a showcase page that is all about Michigan talent. And so that is nested within their existing page. People can follow this page specifically, and you can post all kinds of updates about your organization or the aspect of your organization that you choose to feature. So one of the things that we would suggest that you do, which would work very well for SEO or search engine optimization, would be to set up a specific showcase page for ZoomProspector so that people can follow additional information, specific information related to that. And it's another way to drive people back by regularly posting links, the properties of the day, the businesses of the day, reports, charts, that would help kind of create that additional interest. If you want to know how to create a showcase page, you would have to be an administrator for your organization's LinkedIn profile page. And you can just Google, how do I create a LinkedIn showcase page? And it will bring you to this kind of screen that explains it. It's actually quite easy. Again, it's free. There's no cost for it. There's different kinds of elements required here. You can post a picture, but it's really quite simple. In a few minutes, you can have it up and running. Nice way to promote ZoomProspector. Now, of course, all of the activity that you have online is measurable when it comes to social media. So this is an example of for a LinkedIn post of you can measure how many impressions, how many people saw the post, how many people clicked through to it, how many people chose to share that link with others, and it gives you calculates percentage of engagement. So you can monitor the different kinds of updates, and you can see what kinds of things are likely to be most popular with the people who are following your page. Now, we also know that Google loves Google products. So if you want to improve your search ranking in your Google results, you want to post on Google accounts such as YouTube or Google Plus if you're using those for your organization. Now, video is really powerful. It is possible to create very simply using free tools like Jing, for example, or iMovie. You can create very short videos that showcase how you use your ZoomProspector tool, or you want to showcase specific properties, you can do that through video. Video is very powerful for search engine optimization. But in order for it to work, you need to be able to write out, using keywords, a description of the video and put that in the title and in the description underneath it. Because Google can't index just the spoken words or the images on a video. It needs to be able to go through the words that you choose to describe it in the text copy. So I would encourage you to consider using video as a way to do that. Just to review, for those of you who may not be familiar with the term, SEO, or search engine optimization, is that process of improving the quality and the volume of web traffic based on certain techniques to help a site achieve higher ranking with search engines. If you do a Google search, you probably don't go more than 1, 2, or 3 pages into the results. If it's buried on the 10th page or the 450th page, you'll probably never see it. So the goal is always to make sure that your organization's key pages end up at the top of the search rankings. And how do we do SEO? Well, it's a little bit of a complicated secret sauce when it comes to calculating algorithms, and people will hire professionals to do this. But there are some things that you can do without spending any additional money on consultants, which is making sure that you have backlinks to your sites in a variety of places, putting it on LinkedIn, creating a showcase page, posting it on social media, using your organizational page on LinkedIn, for example, or partner sites within your community, optimizing keywords and content and coding. So making sure you're using the words that people use when they're searching for communities to invest in, and removing barriers that might make it difficult to find. So some of the things we talked about at the beginning of this webinar, making it difficult for people to find your Zoom prospector, is certainly going to hurt your rankings. Now, as I said, the right way to post images and video means including a keyword optimized description with the link for all posts to improve search rankings and traffic. So any video that you post on YouTube should have the URL back to your Zoom prospector and back to your organizational website laid out for you right there as well. How do you determine what are the right keywords? Well, you can use the free Google AdWords keywords tool. Even if you don't pay for an AdWords campaign, you're welcome to go in and use it. You put down the kinds of products or services. In this case, I was looking for information around small business in the, we're looking for Greater Oklahoma City. You could put the product category, and it will search a variety of different terms related, in this case, to small business. Now, the interesting thing here is that it will suggest kinds of terms and pairings of words. It'll show you locally what the number of average monthly searches are. Now, in this case, I was looking for searches just in Oklahoma County and Grady County, Cleveland County, Canadian County, so that we were looking right around in this area. It'll also show you the competition. Competition is the number of other sites using those same kinds of terms. So here, ideas for small and start small businesses there's more competition than if you chose something like small business information. So you want to look for that balance between high monthly searches and low competition in order to be able to choose the right keywords. You don't have to spend any money in order to be able to do this. This is just a great way for you to be able to research those keywords in your location. Here's some examples of videos. Again, this is Why Michigan, profiling local companies and putting them together in videos. And you can see that there is a description down here in terms. These are going to be really good for SEO. If you just relied on the video, that wouldn't be enough. And as you see, they list the URL back to their website. So that's really quite a useful thing to do. Makes it much more likely that you are now working on your search engine optimization. Another example here from Greater Halifax Partnership up in Nova Scotia, videos that they were doing, very short videos. This one is 5 minutes long, that's showing information about their local airport. Again, there's a description here that leads back to the URL for the particular organization. It's really quite good. There's actually this is a very detailed video description, so you can see that they're using a lot of terms over here. It doesn't even really matter if people don't read all of this. The important thing is that these are all keywords that will help drive people back to their organization. And as I showed you before with Michigan, they've listed their URL at the bottom. Very often people forget that when it comes to posting videos, and it's really a lost opportunity. Now let's talk about how you can make sure the world knows that your EDO offers a best-in-class site selection tool. So we really want to be promoting it as part of your suite of services. Here's an example. Now this is the services tab on a LinkedIn organizational page. This has since been replaced by the showcase page, but it gives you the same idea. So we can see that Pinellas County in Florida is promoting their Zoom Prospector tool on the Services tab. Now, these days, what we would do instead is set it up as a showcase page, but really kind of a nice way for them to be able to drive people back to it, and quite an innovative way to do that. And as you can see, when we look at their search rankings, when we put in Piniela's site selector, really that comes up, this LinkedIn description comes up at the very top of the search rankings, ensuring that people are going to be able to find it as quickly as possible. Now, this press coverage, this is great too, absolutely. But this is less likely to have links that are going to drive people right back to the site selection tool, which ultimately is what you want. So the LinkedIn pages are really powerful in terms of driving people back to where you want them to be. So some of the things that you can do to promote your ZoomProspector tool is to make sure that you list it in the description of services on your website, that you promote it on LinkedIn, either on your organizational page or by creating a showcase page specifically for it, that you can talk about it in RFPs because it is a useful way to get information about your location, that you can mention it in press releases outlining your EDO's activities. It's a great thing to be able to promote at trade shows, and you can use it in other forms of marketing collateral. There's wonderful screenshots, detailed data, and as we'll see, some of the newly available charts that you can take directly from the reports and export into some of these things that we just discussed. So how can you use your ZPE tool for information? It's really so much more than just a property database. That's important too as well. But of course, it's the incredible amount of data that's refreshed from 2 to 4 times a year that really is part of the richness of this tool. So you really want to think about taking advantage of that location analysis part to generate important tidbits of information to help you do what you do to attract people to your location. So, for example, have you noticed that the 30 to 39-year-old segment of your population has grown in the past 5 years? Well, there's a variety of ways you can tell us about it. We have just upgraded the way the chart function works on our reports. So in this case, we opened a property report on ZoomProspector. Let's go back there, actually, just so we can see what that looks like. All right, we're going the wrong direction. We'll take you back to there. And you can see that what we've done now is for once you've opened up a particular property report, you can go over to demographics, and the demographics now will give you not only the information here, but it will also produce it in these charts that you can turn on or off by clicking over here. And if you click on these settings bars over here, you'd see that you can print the chart or download it in a variety of different formats so that you can export it right into reports that you might be producing for internally as a business case for an interested investor. They're attractive, they're very professional, and they're a really nice way to communicate that information. Now, the other thing is because we can download these as images, you're also able to use them on your social media feeds in a variety of different ways to communicate important information about your location. You can also, of course, use heat maps to get information about age distribution. These maps can be very, very useful. It's all about getting the pictures to tell the story of your location. And these pictures communicate information so much more quickly, efficiently, and in much more interesting ways than just lines and lines of boring data. People get this much faster. Similarly, if there's an emerging cluster of businesses in a growing industry in your area, you can show it. So you can produce a business report. You can decide on the radius up to 60 miles around. You can look for specific information. In this case, we were looking for companies around a property that are professional, scientific, and technical services. I could further open that up down here and isolate it even further. In this case, I selected that whole group. I can map them. So right away, I get all sorts of information. I could select any one of these dots and get information about the businesses that's there. And this just is a very easy thing to share. As you see the share report down at the bottom over here, you can also share it over here, and you can export it as a PDF. So this information is really, really useful and quite data rich. Maybe you have a detail to show in a custom defined area of your region. This is something you can also illustrate with a map. In this case, I use the polygon tool to select a particular area. And when you open up the tools button, you'll see that you can export the map as a PDF or as an image. And it also lets you use a radius tool, radius search if you prefer to do that. You can open any one of those properties. So these images really also are quite useful for illustrating certain things about your community. You can compare demographic data between two communities using the compare feature, as you see here, comparing between Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You can also compare addresses or specific properties or the communities themselves. You might wonder, is the population in your region highly educated? You can post a heat map showing educational containment, as you see over here. And you can also export a chart. So in this case, we have like a very highly educated community. This chart really says a lot about the potential workforce or potential consumers in an area. And so this would be a chart that you, again, by clicking on the settings bars over here, can easily export in a variety of different formats. You can post this on social media, you can put it in a report, you can use it as part of a press release. So the information you generate from your ZPE web service can be used for marketing collateral, for social media posts, for press releases, quotable material for press interviews, or for RFPs. Just the idea of quotable material is really useful if you have someone in marketing communications for your organization who needs to get data to prepare an elected official or the director who's going to be interviewed or speaking at an event. There's so much that you can draw from your ZoomProspector tool to help you do that. So let's take a quick look at the marketing checklist at the end. Some of the things that we want to think about. Is your ZPE site easy to find from your EDO homepage? Go back and do a test on your own, and then maybe try out a blind test on someone who's never been to your website before and see if they're able to track it down. Are you posting sites or businesses of the day on your social media feeds? Make your brokers happy. Drive more potential leads directly to the properties and sites that are available. Use your social media tools for that. Are you actively promoting your ZPE site as part of your EDO suite of services? You've invested in this powerful, powerful data and communication vehicle. Don't hide it in the garage. Make sure that you've got it out there and that you're communicating to people in practical, tangible ways, that you're using this tool to create jobs, to attract investment, to support local businesses. And finally, are you using the valuable demographic, labor force, business, and industry data that's available on your ZPE site in your marketing outreach? There's so much that you could be doing with it internally, and that this is really helpful to be able to kind of gate further attention to your community by showcasing the kinds of things that are happening, really telling the story of your location with the information available in the tool. Now, if you have some ideas to share about the ways in which you've been using ZoomProspector, please let me know. I'm always on the look for new ideas. I run an occasional Great Ideas in Economic Development webinar or blog, and I'm always happy to showcase them. So please don't keep it a secret. You can reach me at the email address listed below, asklar@gisplanning.com or at ZoomProspector. And if you're looking for additional great ideas or just information to keep on top of what's going on in economic development, I encourage you to visit our blog page. We publish usually at least once a week, sometimes more, with all sorts of information on what's happening in the industry, useful tips for how to design your website or ways to use ZoomProspector in different kinds of ways. We talk about our other products, Size Up, Local Business Intelligence, for example. And we'd be very happy to share that with you. Now, I invite you to ask any questions that you might have at on the question panel on the right-hand side. If any of you have anything that you'd like me to address as a group, I'm very happy to do that here. Otherwise, you can always reach me individually. That's certainly possible. You can send me an email. One of the things that I would encourage you to take a look at is, if you were one of our clients, to read your client newsletter. We often post our regular updates. We're always improving our products and making changes and keeping it up to date. And we make sure to put that information in the client newsletter. So please feel free to join us there. I see a couple people have indicated that they will be emailing me with a couple of specific questions. So I want to thank you all very much for taking the time to attend our webinar today. I look forward to speaking to you one-on-one. Please feel free to reach out anytime with questions. If you are not a client currently and you are interested in ZoomProspector, please get in touch with me, and I'll show you my email address again. And I can certainly make sure that we direct you back to the right person who can give you information about ZoomProspector. Make sure we get you connected. Great. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.